What truly happens after the final breath? Does the self dissolve into nothingness, or does it journey through realms beyond human understanding? Welcome, seeker of knowledge, to the mystery of mysteries. Today, we delve into one of the most profound and enigmatic texts of Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, more widely known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Imagine a sacred guide designed to navigate you through the deepest, most mysterious transitions of existence. This is the role of the Bardo Thodol, but it is far more than a mere text on the end of life. It is a spiritual map, an ancient key to understanding what awaits beyond death. Prepare yourself, for we are about to step through this portal, decode its messages, and perhaps come closer to understanding what it truly means to exist. The Bardo Thodol was conceived by Padmasambhava, an almost mythical figure in Tibetan Buddhism. Born in India, he is credited as the master who introduced Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. Tibetan tradition honors him as Guru Rinpoche, meaning precious master. But Padmasambhava was more than a monk. He was a yogi, a mystic, and a master of esoteric wisdom, possessing profound spiritual insight. The Bardo Thodol was not merely a doctrine for the living, but a guide to aid souls in their journey beyond death, a beacon leading them toward liberation, even after their last breath. From an early age, Padmasambhava displayed extraordinary mystical abilities, recognized as a Mahasiddha, one who attains supreme spiritual realization and extraordinary powers, or Siddhis. His wisdom caught the attention of King Trisong Detsen of Tibet, who invited him to spread Buddhism and fortify the spiritual fabric of the land. At that time, Tibet was a place of deep-rooted shamanic and animistic traditions, primarily the Bon religion. This spiritual landscape was diverse, yet turbulent, presenting obstacles to the expansion of Buddhism. Upon his arrival, Padmasambhava encountered resistance, not only from the people, but from the very spirits and deities of the land, bound to the old traditions. Using tantric rituals and his deep knowledge of mystical arts, Padmasambhava subdued these spiritual forces, integrating them into the Buddhist path instead of erasing them. This harmony between Bon practices and Buddhism laid the foundation for what would become Tibetan Buddhism as we know it. Thus, he founded Tibet's first Buddhist monastery, Sami Monastery, and began transmitting profound teachings on the nature of reality and the cycle of existence, a cycle known as samsara. In Tibetan Buddhism, samsara represents the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, an endless wheel driven by karma, attachment, and illusion. The Bardo Thodol teaches that within this cycle, death is not the end. Rather, it is a gateway to transformation. To Padmasambhava, the moment of death offers an unparalleled opportunity for liberation, a chance to transcend suffering and awaken to ultimate truth. However, most souls remain unaware of this moment, lost in fear, illusion, and the echoes of their past lives. This is why the Bardo Thodol was created, a guide to illuminate the hidden pathways of the afterlife. It describes the different stages, or Bardos, that a soul must pass through after death, each offering opportunities for enlightenment or reincarnation. The first stage is the Chikhai Bardo, the moment of death itself. As the physical body shuts down, the consciousness is said to experience an immense radiance, the clear light. This light is the true nature of the mind, beyond all illusions and attachments. For those who recognize it, this is the moment of ultimate liberation, emerging with the infinite. But for many, the brightness is overwhelming, and fear causes the soul to turn away. This leads to the next stage, the Chönyid Bardo, or the Bardo of visions. Here, the mind enters a dreamlike state, encountering divine and terrifying manifestations. At first, peaceful deities appear, offering wisdom and guidance. The soul is drawn toward parents whose energy aligns with its karmic path. At this point, if enlightenment has not been achieved, the cycle of samsara continues, and the soul enters a new life. The Bardo Thodol serves as a guide to break this cycle, to awaken the mind even in the afterlife, and seize the rare chance for liberation. It is read aloud to the dying and the dead, reminding them of the illusions they will encounter. It teaches that fear is the greatest barrier to freedom, and that clarity, pure awareness, is the key to escaping samsara. Padmasambhava's wisdom remains alive in these teachings, urging seekers to prepare in life for the great transition beyond death. For those who train their minds in meditation, self-awareness, and detachment, death is not an end. It is a door, and beyond it lies the ultimate truth, hidden in plain sight. If this knowledge resonates with you, consider its implications in your own journey. Are we truly prepared for the final transition? Or are we still caught in the illusions of the material world? The answers, perhaps, have been waiting in the wisdom of the ancients all along. The Bardo Thodol does not merely offer insight into what happens after death. It also provides a profound understanding of how we live. If death is a mirror reflecting the state of our mind, then life itself is the preparation for that final moment. Tibetan masters teach that the way we experience the Bardos is not determined at the moment of death, but by the habits and attachments we cultivate in life. Those who are consumed by fear, greed, or ignorance may find themselves lost in the illusions of the Chönyid Bardo. Those who seek wisdom, self-awareness, and detachment may recognize the clear light and break free from samsara. The teachings of Padmasambhava invite us to reflect on the choices we make each day. Are we strengthening the illusions that will bind us? Or are we preparing our minds to recognize the truth when the final moment comes? This is why Tibetan Buddhists emphasize daily meditation, self-inquiry, and the contemplation of impermanence. To know death is to know life, and to prepare for death is to awaken in the present moment. There is a powerful lesson hidden within the Bardo Thodol. We are already in a Bardo. Right now, we are in the Bardo of this life, a fleeting, transitional state between birth and death. Everything we cling to, our identity, our desires, our fears, will dissolve when we take our final breath. But if we realize this now, while still alive, we can begin the process of awakening before death arrives. Many great masters have taught that enlightenment is nothing more than seeing reality as it is, without illusion, without attachment. The Bardo Thodol serves as a guide not just for the dying, but for the living. Because if we wait until death to free ourselves from fear and illusion, it may already be too late. Instead, we must train our minds now to see through the illusions of the world, to detach from fleeting desires, to embrace the truth beyond form and name. For those who practice this awareness daily, the transition of death becomes nothing more than a shift in perception. The great Tibetan yogis are said to have faced death with complete peace, some even with joy, knowing they were not leaving existence, but returning to their true nature. And this is the invitation of the Bardo Thodol, to live in such a way that death is not feared, but understood. To live in such a way that when the clear light appears, we do not look away. To live in such a way that we are not trapped by illusion, but freed by truth. So the real question is not just what happens when we die, but rather, what happens when we truly awaken? The answer may have been within us all along. The Bardo Thodol is not just a book about death. It is a key to understanding existence itself. It reminds us that the world we see is not the ultimate reality, but a projection of our own mind. Just as the Bardos after death present illusions that arise from our deepest fears and desires. If we become lost in these projections, we continue the cycle of suffering, bound to samsara. But if we recognize them for what they are, we can step beyond illusion into the ultimate truth. This is the wisdom hidden in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, a wisdom that has guided monks, sages, and seekers for centuries. And it asks us, right now, to consider our own illusions. What are the attachments that hold us back? What are the fears that shape our reality? Are we ready to let go? For those who seek liberation, the Bardo Thodol provides a clear path. First, we must train our minds in life, through meditation, through study, through self-awareness. We must practice detachment, not in a way that rejects the world, but in a way that allows us to move through it freely, unburdened by illusion. We must cultivate compassion, because it is through love and wisdom that we dissolve the barriers of ego and fear. And above all, we must prepare for the moment of death, not as an end, but as a doorway that will reveal our true nature. Many have wondered, what is beyond this life? What lies on the other side of consciousness? But perhaps the real question is, are we ready to see? Because the truth is not hidden. It has always been there, waiting. And when the time comes, we will either recognize it or turn away. The choice has always been ours. The Bardo Thodol does not promise an easy path. It does not offer salvation through belief alone. It demands something greater. It calls upon us to awaken now, because what happens after death is not separate from what happens in life. The Bardos are not waiting for us in the future. We are moving through them in this very moment. And if we wish to find liberation beyond death, we must seek it now, in every breath, in every thought, in every step. That is the true teaching of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, a teaching that does not belong only to monks or mystics, a teaching that belongs to all of us, because in the end, we are all walking the same path, a path that leads beyond illusion, a path that leads home. But how do we walk this path with awareness? How do we prepare ourselves for the journey beyond? The Bardo Thodol tells us that awareness is the key. Awareness in life, awareness in death, awareness in every moment. It teaches that what we call self is not fixed, but constantly changing, shaped by thoughts, emotions, and karma. If we cling to this illusion of self, we become trapped in fear when death arrives. But if we see through it, we realize that we have always been something greater. This is why Tibetan monks spend years in meditation, contemplating impermanence, training their minds to let go. They do not wait for death to awaken. They awaken now, so that when death comes, they do not fear it. They meet it as an old friend, knowing that what lies beyond is not darkness, but light. This is a lesson for all of us, no matter our beliefs, no matter our background, because death is not something that happens to others. It is something that happens to all of us. And when it does, we will each face our own Bardos, our own illusions, our own fears. But we do not have to face them unprepared. We can begin now. We can begin by asking ourselves, what am I truly afraid of? What am I still holding on to? And if I let go, what might I find? Perhaps we will find that what we feared losing was never real to begin with. Perhaps we will find that the self we tried so hard to protect was only a shadow. Perhaps we will find that beyond illusion, beyond fear, there is only truth. And that truth has been waiting for us, always. The The Bardo Thodol does not tell us what happens after death as a rigid fact. It offers us a doorway that each of us must step through in our own way, in our own time. Some will face it with fear, some will face it with wonder, and some perhaps will face it with a quiet smile, knowing that the journey does not end, it only changes, because nothing is ever truly lost. The river continues to flow, the wheel continues to turn, and the soul, free of illusion, continues its journey beyond the stars. Where that journey leads, only we can decide. Not in death, but in life. Because the choice is not made when we take our last breath. The choice is made now, in how we live, in what we seek, in how willing we are to awaken. The truth has never been hidden from us. It has always been here, waiting in the silence, waiting in the breath between thoughts, waiting in the moments when we pause and truly see. The final teaching of the Bardo Thodol is simple. Wake up. Wake up before it is too late. Wake up so that when the time comes, you do not look away. Wake up so that when the clear light appears, you recognize it as home. Wake up so that when the great transition arrives, you step forward without fear. Because the journey does not end with death. It only begins again. And the question is, when it does, will you be ready? Or will you still be asleep? That choice is yours. It always has been. But before we part ways, take a moment to reflect. What did this journey stir within you? Did it awaken questions? Did it challenge your perception of life and death? If so, then perhaps you have already taken the first step, the step toward seeing beyond illusion. Because the teachings of the Bardo Thodol are not meant to be mere philosophy. They are meant to be lived. They are meant to prepare us for the inevitable, not as something to fear, but as something to embrace. Because what we fear is not death itself, but the unknown. Yet, as the ancient masters have said, the unknown is simply the part of ourselves we have not yet remembered. And so, as you return to your life, carry this knowledge with you. Let it shape the way you see the world. Let it remind you that everything is temporary, fleeting, impermanent. But within that impermanence lies something eternal, something that has no name, no form, and yet has always been. Something that waits for you, beyond the veil. A truth that cannot be spoken, only known. And when the moment comes, when you take your final breath, may you recognize it. May you awaken, and may you finally find your way home. But before this journey ends, ask yourself, what does it mean to truly find home? Is it a place, a feeling, or is it something deeper? The Bardo Thodol teaches that home is not found in the external world. It is not a destination, but a state of being, a recognition of what has always been within you. Because the search for truth is not about discovering something new. It is about remembering what was never lost, beyond birth and death, beyond illusion and form. That is where home truly lies. And when you understand this, you will no longer search for answers outside yourself. You will no longer fear the unknown, because you will know you have been home all along, and you always will be. But now, I ask you, what do you believe? What does this journey make you feel? Have you ever had an experience that made you question the nature of life and death? Or perhaps a moment of clarity where the illusion of separation faded and something deeper was revealed? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's continue this conversation together, exploring the mysteries that connect us all. After all, the path to understanding is not meant to be walked alone. Your insights, your experiences, your questions, they matter. Because in seeking, we learn. and in sharing, we awaken. I look forward to reading your thoughts, and until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and most importantly, stay awake. Thanks for watching.